And here we are, starting off another show, checking out if everything is alright. Seems to be good. Hey everyone, nice to have all of you here. Just started pretty much on time, maybe a little late. That's it when you don't look at the time. I didn't even think it was 2000 UT yet. I thought I had still a few minutes. Oh well. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is our Shortwave radio show, and we are Saturday, September 23rd, 2017. This is a show we have on Saturdays every 2 weeks. So the next show on Saturday will be in the month of October. Incredible, but yep. October the 7th will be the next Saturday show. Just incredible. You like this? Well, we're here every Fridays also. So on Fridays at 2000 hours UTC, we are here and we talk about radio and we have a lot of fun. I mean, it's a cool, place to hang out. There's cool people in the chat room and a lot of, and we just, are a big, cool gang. And really a lot of fun. So I was listening to the 20 meter band. Did a few things today, and one of them was testing out the here's the PayPal link. Shortwave. So that's the PayPal link for those that want to donate. So yeah, I should put it in the description. You're right, I never put it in the description actually. I should really put it in the description. So anyways, nice day. Started off, I had a few things to do, and then I actually tested some satellite listening. I heard a few satellites, including one that I had never heard before, which is UCube1. That has single sideband contacts on 2 meters, and actually was really cool. It really was pretty strong, but only one station calling CQ. It seemed nobody else was on the satellite. So really sad that there weren't any other contacts, but just to kind of test out the discount. I gotta say, was not impressed with the discount yet. I need to test more because it's gonna be in its definite place this week, because I want to put it higher. It's not high enough. It's still kind of just borderline, with the roof here. I want to put it above roof level. So we're gonna see. Not totally impressed. No, not really impressed at all right now. So anyways, and so I did some satellite listening early afternoon up to about 3 p.m. Then I switched. 20 meter band has a lot of activity. There's definitely a radio teletype contest going on the ham bands, because it's full of RTTY from about 14070 up to 14150. These guys are taking a huge chunk of the bands right now. So it's just kind of amazing. And funny story, you guys are going to laugh, totally laugh at me, okay? I woke up this morning and I was down. I was, with my coffee on the in my living room, reading a few things, and I suddenly hear what very, very faintly what sounds like the interval signal from Spain. And I'm wondering, wow, am I hearing things? I'm hearing Spain. And, I was not listening. I hadn't turned on any radios. So I was like, wow, I'm really hearing Spain. And it was going on and on and on. And suddenly I realized that I turned on my PL 380 last night and was listening to something. And I basically put the volume down very, very, very low. And last night I didn't hear a thing, so I totally forgot it was turned on. And so this morning is when I looked at the radio, I noticed that it was on. I was like, oh man, and it was on 17855, which is Spain, and they were signing on. So I was like, okay, this is... So, you know, for a moment I was wondering where the hell is, you know, this coming from. Just funny. So welcome, hello there, my name is Gilles, I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are live from a place that is hot and summery, and it's just crazy, the temperature we're having here. Not very far from 90 Fahrenheit right now, so it's really hot summer condition. Actually, we're going to have close to 90 Fahrenheit, 30 to 32 degrees Celsius up until Tuesday. It's just totally crazy. Totally crazy. So just amazing. It's like the summer we didn't have is in the fall at the end of September. So nice to have everybody here, and it's always cool to see all of you here. So my name is Gilles, my location Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and of course this is a show where we will talk about radios, where we will talk about shortwave, where we will talk about all sorts of things. I got a few questions also that I received from some people that I think could be nice to answer. So really nice to have all of you here. So on the IRC chat, we have Gauthier. Nice to have you here. And when you have many radios, it can get confusing as to which one is powered on. Exactly. M-Bot, Michael Bot, nice to have you here. SG2 East Nebraska, 92 Fahrenheit, partly sunny. Nice to have you here. Master Player 29, aka Bobby Burgess. F. Blassie, nice to have you here from Oakland, California. Thank you for the donation, by the way. MDK2, nice to have you here. And says it's totally fall in Denver, in the 50s and overcast. So that's cool. We're gonna get back to these temperatures like later this week. 512, the watchmaker. Hello there, nice to have you here. Radioactive, nice to have you here. 16 degrees Celsius in Oregon. Test 1. Hello there, CB ham radio operator, call sign W1GB. Nice to have you here. Dan Evans, hello there. It's in a memory, the first thing to go. Yeah. Casey Red Dragon, hey there, nice to have you here. And so Fastload, enjoyed his ham fest today in Drummondville. Nice to have all of you here. Jeff, KD5QDO, hello there. Bernier Patrick, bonjour, bienvenue depuis Nice. Bienvenue à Montréal. Nice to have you on board for sure. Dante Fazio, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Brian Romans, hey there. M6GKJ in the UK. Brandy Handel 03. Southern Illinois San, hello there. FO Walsh, nice to have you here. Calvin, hello there. PLF Radio from France, hey, welcome aboard. Jerry DX, hey there. What else do we have? Nick Amendo from Romania. Pretty cool to have all of you here. Bobby Burgess. And it's just so cool to have all of you. Nice to have cool audience as usual. One Amigo, hey there, nice to have you here. B-Boy DMP, hello there. And yeah, well, you know, it's an off and on thing. Sometimes you can catch live, sometimes you can't. It's you know, part of the it's part of the radio experience, and the fact that we have lives. I mean, you guys have other lives in radio also. You can always be here. Catwoman's, nice to have you here. KC3FWF, howdy, nice to have you here. Southern Illinois says, I'm thinking that 102-inch whip would be better overall, but that discount is resonate at scanner frequencies. By the way, which discount did you get? The one with the top whip or without the top whip? It doesn't have the top whip on this one, but it has the, you can add one if you want. It has what, there's a little thing on the top that you can add one if you want. But it doesn't have the top whip, and well, it's mainly for scanner frequencies. I'm using the discount on the VHF UHF range. So I got a few satellites today with it, 400 some on the 435 megahertz UHF range, and some on the 2 meter range. But I need to test more. I'm not giving a verdict before it's really well placed and higher than it is now. That's when I will decide if yes or no it is better than my mobile vertical that I actually am using right now. Richard Cook, nice to have you here. Vincent Vertuccio, nice to have you here from New York. Pretty cool. D-Raf, hello there from Kingston, New York. Nice to have you here. So maybe that's what I would need to get. Well, I think the top is mostly for the bottom, for the lower part of like 30 to 54 megahertz. And I rarely tune around there. I tune much more around the UHF range, you know, like VHF 2 meters and up, say 2 meters and up, 145 megahertz and higher in general. So it might not be that much of a problem for those frequencies, but I'll be checking that out for sure. So we have Fast Load. Hey there, had a nice day at the Amfest. Can I tune into Italy? Well, I hear regularly, actually just 10 minutes before I signed on, I was listening to an amateur radio operator from Italy around 14180. I was making contacts with some US stations. So nice to have you here. So what else do we have? Hope that things will get better, my friend Richard Cook. I know how you feel. Cheers, everyone, with a very ice-cold Fin du Monde beer that is very welcome in this very hot temperature. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some DX shows. Somebody asked me a question and said, you know, are there any shows that, you know, talk about radio on the shortwave bands, or, you know, what type of shows would you listen to and that you like? So there's a few things worth mentioning that I'd, you know, like to share. I'm just gonna give you guys one link. I think it's pretty much it pretty much covers the worldofradio.com. So worldofradio.com is Glenn Hauser's webpage, and there is one very, very nice list of, so I'll just put the main page here, and if you guys go down to DX SWL media programs, you will see a list that is updated pretty frequently of shortwave radio related shows. So here we are. So on that page you have a list of radio shows. If you go down, you also have the audio link to one of the radio shows that is interesting listening every week. It's Glenn Hauser's World of Radio program. Personally, one of my favorites on the shortwave bands. Lots of information packed into it, like a 30-minute show, and he does really have a lot of information. So it's like something you got to listen and be alert, because there's so much in there that it's crazy, and you can hear him on different stations on the shortwave bands also, depending on the day and time. So in there you will see also that there's the World Radio schedules. You know, personally, I listen to the podcasts on the internet, like from my phone or things like that, because that's when I don't have, you know, the possibility to hear it on the radio. Of course, you know, DX programs, I don't know, there's something fun about listening to DX programs on the radio itself. So it's kind of cool for that, but it's you know, at least you can get it on the World of Radio web page. So that's probably my number one show, World of Radio. Glenn Hauser takes a tremendous amount of time in preparing these shows every week, has lots of details of, you know, stations everywhere and all sorts of, you know, and sometimes you hear you'll hear people that you know, like, you know, you might hear my name when I post something and he finds it interesting, he'll pass it along on his show. So it's a great radio listening experience, and I think it's really worth it. The guy works very hard for his show, and it's pretty cool to listen to. Test 1, yeah, we'll check out if we can find some slow scan TV soon. We'll tune the bands while we're going through the show today a little bit. QRP radio listener, nice to have you here as usual. It's always fun to have all of you guys. It's cool to see the regular names that come back and that say hello, and it's pretty cool. So there's diverse types of radio programs on the shortwave bands. There's some interesting stuff. So World of Radio is one. Another one that I like is the AWR Wavescan show. Wavescan show is pretty interesting also. It has a lot of interesting stuff. It is also quite diverse in the information, and it will actually have features that are interesting. Like one feature they had recently was, when they went to the HFCC conference and talking about, what international broadcasters are basically just talking about how the future of shortwave and so on. So it's kind of nice. And AWR Wavescan is very, very interesting show also. I have my Saturday lineup usually here in Montreal. If I have time to listen to the radio, there's a airing of there's two airings of World of Radio, for example, that I can listen to that are easy to receive. Something that one is at 2300 on 11580. I like that. Also, the AWR Wavescan here, one of the great times that I listen to it is UT Sundays, which is Saturday evening, North America, at 0330 UTC on 4840 on WWCR. That one comes in almost always very well. So the Saturday evening lineup of radio programs. So these are, I would say, the World of Radio and AWR Wavescan are two of my favorites for radio information and what's happening in the radio world. SSTVs are around between 14 to 25, 14 to 35. You'll find some SSTV usually. Someone on 14 to 35. I'll keep it in the low volume here so we can hear something. I did hear some slow scan TV about half an hour ago, around 14228. Calvin, yeah, brothers there. Man, Weighted Cube, hey there. Nice to have you on board. Going very well here. Very hot. So I've got the fan running in the background. Hope it doesn't create too much sound in the microphone, but nice to have that here. And what else do we have here? Oh yeah, absolutely. I like it, Calvin. I like when Brother Stare starts ranting at others. I actually like that. I'll always stay there a little bit when he starts ranting about others. That's for sure. What else did we have here? What do you mean there, Richard, about 15770? Something I don't know? I haven't been receiving 15770 almost. It's really been a bad frequency for me. Oh yeah, he goes nuts totally some days. Totally. That's the fun part of Brothers there. When he stops talking about Jesus and starts ranting about everybody. Yeah, but that doesn't count, Jerry. But yes, the official Shortwave channel with Jill's favorite show. It's, you know, it's just funny. Did you hear something on 29357, 29403? No, Casey Red Dragon. Have you heard anything special there? It sounds, you know what, around there's a lot of, there's some FM stations, sometimes some FM, amateur radio FM stuff. I've been trying the upper bands today, and they seem dead. Above 20 megahertz doesn't seem to have a lot of things happening. Have you heard any North Korea propaganda? I haven't heard North Korea in a long time. Long time. Hey there, Andrew, in the RC chat room. Nice to have you here. I haven't heard North Korea in such a long time here. It's crazy. I mean, I used to listen to North Korea all the time. I'm pretty sure they changed the pattern or the power of their transmitter, because it's been really hard to get here recently for North Korea. Catwoman's out in Canada too. Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, we're in the next 4 days we're going to beat some probably beat some heat records. In the next 4 days, it's supposed to be, you know, like 30 Celsius and very humid. Like with the humidex, it's going to be like 40. So kind of crazy. We haven't even had that this summer, so it just really is crazy. Neil Toombs, nice to have you here. M0CJM in Southern UK, nice to have you here. Southern Illinois Stan, how many shortwave sites have been taken out by hurricanes this year? We know that the in the island of Anguilla, the Caribbean beacons been taken out by Hurricane Irma. I haven't tried, but I don't know if they're back. I haven't tried. I'm going to try 11775, which is the one I hear sometimes, and not even hearing a thing. I think the Caribbean beacon's off, and you know what? They had such bad transmitters that I'm not even sure they're going to come back. Caribbean beacon's been off on Anguilla. There was a brief interruption of radio event at Cuba with Hurricane Irma. Also, there were a lot of frequencies off. Not all of them. They kind of kept going on some frequencies. Some of the North American frequencies were off for a couple of nights. Things seem to be back. Actually, 6,000 kilohertz seems to sound better than ever. So I don't know if they had to fix something that made it crappy, but the audio seems better than ever now. So, then there's WRMI, which got hit, broken antenna towers. They had no power for a couple of days. Now things are coming back to normal, but they have to fix some antenna towers that have problems for sure. So that's pretty much what we have in the hurricanes. Another maybe thing to check out, there's a few Mexicans that we can hear sometimes on the 49 meter band. I haven't tried them, but with the earthquake in Mexico, there's a possibility that maybe some of the Mexicans might have been on off the air. 14.23. Nothing here. I'm gonna keep it there just in case we hear some slow scan TV stuff. So that could be something to check for. Also, the Mexicans, for sure. So that is something to check out if they are on or not. What's the lowest price range for shortwave transmitter? And what do you mean by shortwave transmitter? You mean like a transceiver for amateur radio, or a shortwave transmitter that you want to new for amateurs? Well, that's, you know, a new one. A new transceiver will probably run you and lower $1,000. if you don't have that to spend, you might look at you know, used transceivers. Just make sure, gotta make sure that they are in good conditions though. So what else do we have? Fabrice Simonet, hey there. Used to listen to North Korea quite often when living in Japan, and yeah, but it was you know, it was a regular here. The Voice of Korea in North Korea was a regular a couple of years ago, and now it's been really hard to hear in North America. I know that Richard Cook, Cook 555 in the chat room, hears the Voice of Korea quite regularly. Can we do more satellites today? Well, we'll kind of stay in the shortwave spectrum today. We'll do another satellite show for sure. KC Red Dragon in the very soon. We'll alternate with different types of shows. I think it's going to be fun. So nice to have you on board. Bonjour Fabrice de la France. Bienvenue à mon émission à Montréal, Québec. And Hungry Shark Gamer, nice to have you here. PLF Radio, the Caribbean Beacon site is on the island of Anguilla. And they've been hit really, really hard by the hurricane. And, you know, I suspect, I don't know if they're going to come back, because lately their transmitters were really bad. The audio was almost impossible to listen to. I think, you know, I'm not sure they're going to be, they're going to come back. You know, it was a shortwave transmission from Anguilla, you know, but apart from that, it was religious all the time. Never listened to it much. Lou Rubens, hello there from Tampa Bay, Florida. Really like your channel. KJ3LR, nice to have you on board, and thank you for your nice comments. Is the end of the world? Yeah, apparently it's the end of the world today, so that's why we have to be all together with our shortwave radios. You know, so like that we'll know when the end of the world hits, we'll be live for that, apparently. Apparently it's today. Just saying. And we're going to talk a little bit about also something else about propagation. We're changing, slowly, you know, moving into the fall in Northern Hemisphere and all of that. That was a question I will talk about a little later in the show also. Andrew Everett here in Iowa, USA, 94 Fahrenheit. Wow, that's, yeah, it is warm for September here too. So, yeah, like Richard says, Anguilla had been destroyed almost to hurricanes, so, you know, I'm not sure they're going to come back. Carl Tench, nice to have you here, says his Robot 32 app ready and waiting. We're going to try. I'm going to leave it there. If I hear something, I'll fire up the Robot 32 app on my phone and try to tune in. I'm going to fire up to make sure that it's already there, ready to do something for Slow Scan TV. Robot 36, I think it's called, Robot 36, which is a very, very nice app, by the way, for Android. Robot 36 is one of the great apps for decoding. And in the what was I saying? And on the PC side, MMSSTV is also something to check for. Hey, Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here and back in Alberta. Nice to nice to have you on board, Mickey. It was nice to meet you, by the way, at the CIDX barbecue. Really, really enjoyed that, and hope you had a nice big tour of Canada, and that you enjoyed yourself. Yeah, yesterday I had a show, but it started an hour later. I had a tech job to do, and I came home later than I was supposed to, so I had to start the show at 2100. It was an hour later than usual, and I didn't post it because I didn't want to post something about VHF, UHF on shortwave related Facebook pages and or any other place. Usually, and I try to respect that. You know, if we talk about something that's not within the spectrum or what they want us to talk about, I just don't add it I could have posted it on the CIDX Facebook group though, because I know that it's that it's a group that talks about pretty much everything. Did I hear a sat on 136.8? Not lately, but there could be, around 136 to 138. There's a lot of satellites, so yes, there's a lot of things. Am I on Twitter? Yes, I am, and it's at. I'm just gonna post it to if anyone wants to. At Shortwave Radios, and I'll post it there for those that want to add or follow me on Twitter. At Shortwave Radios. That's where I am at for the Twitter. And I usually post all the live shows that I do on the Twitter feed. When I post something on the on my Shortwave page, it usually ends up there. So you can follow me there. I got about 560 followers right now, which is not too bad. And if you want to learn more, Mickey Dalmage says comes in well on 11710 in our mornings. Bad growl on their transmitters. Yeah, there's the West Coast is probably have a better chance of 11710. I need to try it. This is the time of year where probably is the best to try for. I'm going to have to try it in the mornings for sure. So, Richard says, I haven't been hearing them in the low frequencies at the moment, but 15245 came in this morning in Russian. So, PA1 SBM Alex, yes, I did have a haircut last week. I wanted to be beautiful for all of you guys. Have you heard anything on what happened to Global 24? Southern Illinois Sand, yeah. What the story behind Global 24 Radio, which was an exciting moment for shortwave because it kind of was cool to think about, that someone would want to do something really new and fun for shortwave. And what happened with Global 24 is that first of all, it was not done in the way that everybody thought. So, for example, there were like 2 or 3 people at Global 24. After looking at everything, well, it seems that the 3 different people were actually one and only one person. What happened is that I think they thought they would be able to monetize the broadcast in some way so that they could stay on the air and pay for the bills. Global 24 was actually removed from WRMI because they had not paid their bills in a very long time. So of course WRMI pulled the plug on that, which is totally normal. I mean, WRMI is a commercial station. They need to have money coming in to pay the bills also. And finally everything just dropped. Apparently they owed a tremendous amount of money. And it just was gone. And there's a few things that you might think are not right. For example, choosing one frequency for 24-hour periods is not, I think, refers and shows lack of knowledge of shortwave. I mean, you can't choose one frequency and say we're going to be here 24 hours a day, because that frequency and some parts of the day are going to be okay. Some parts of the day you won't be able to listen to it. They should have changed frequency, go on a higher frequency in the daytime, lower frequency in the nighttime. It would have been a better bet for reception. I remember Global 24 being kind of difficult to really receive here in Montreal. So they weren't really, it wasn't, well thought out. And so it's gone, and there's everything's gone. The web page is gone. Everything's gone. I actually, when I send my mass emails on the Google with Gmail to everybody to talk about the live shows coming up, I always forget, but the Global 24 email address is in the list, and it always tells me, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. So, anyways, I don't think they're going to come back. That's for sure. MDK2 says, I think Western Korea will be in the 49-meter band, 1030 to 1330 for Central America when B-17 takes effect. That one was easy to copy, even though it's so early here in Colorado. Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Fabrice says the hurricane disasters aren't an opportunity for governments to reconsider shortwave shutdown. Well, if it would hit, okay, honestly, if it would hit, yes and no. Okay, now I will give my opinion of that. When an hurricane hits an area, two things can happen. Say that there is a government-controlled station that wants to be on the air. Hurricane hits, transmitters get damaged, the antennas get damaged. How? Now they have the choice to rebuild, get back on the air and cost money, or to shut down. Now, one of the things that you need to know is that in a hurricane situation, people that have portable radios with batteries, they still work. It's a great opportunity to show the strength of shortwave, broadcasting information about what's happening to the population. It's a very valuable moment. Actually, I've seen tons of reports on the internet of how amateur radio showed how they could communicate after the disasters, you know, of Hurricane Irma and basically, and there's the Maria, the other one. You know, I think it's something that you can think about here, is that there's an opportunity to understand that these can be heard. The other side of the of that is, yeah, of course, you know, you got to spend money to something that a lot of governments think is not important anymore. So you might start thinking, well, you know, shortwave is useless. Why am I, you know, going to spend money on transmitters? And, you know, it could be. But what was hit mostly on the shortwave side were a religious station on the island of Anguilla. It's not government owned, it's privately owned. It was WRMI, which is a commercial radio station that seems to be going well. You have a lot of relays. I would guess that things are going pretty well for WRMI. And so the idea behind there is let's make sure we get back on the air as fast as possible. Radio Havana Cuba got hit, but Radio Havana Cuba is in a very unique state. Radio Havana Cuba is a remnant of the, you know, the communist era, if you want. It's kind of a Radio Havana Cuba is is that little country there on the island that you know, is still kind of going on like we're in the 80s when communism was strong and Russia had Radio Moscow and all of that. So because of that, it has its own ideas and you know, views of all sorts of things, and it wants to continue shortwave because it wants to, you know, let's say it honestly, send its propaganda to the rest of the world. And by the way, I just want to state here that I say that with Radio Havana Cuba, but every government-owned shortwave station is there to send the propaganda of its own government. So Voice of America is propaganda, you know, Radio Romania is kind of propaganda for Romania, and so on. And which is why they are on the air. But in the case of Radio Havana Cuba, it stays there because it's even more, you know, it is that little island that refuses to change its ways and wants to show the world that they are there and that they continue talking, you know. So they don't want to leave shortwave. Where I would be scared of Radio Havana Cuba leaving is, you know, when Obama kind of relaxed a little bit and said, oh, well, you know, maybe we should talk to Cuba again. If that would have continued to getting normal relations with Cuba, and that suddenly the United States could, you know, go back to Cuba and do business and everything, that could have signed the end of Radio Havana Cuba, because Cuba would have found maybe that there's no need for such propaganda anymore. But the fact that now they are still, and with Donald Trump, it's getting back to the hard line, they're going to stay on shortwave. So they want to stay on shortwave, and they want to continue transmitting and want to continue, you know, what they started. And there's not just the propaganda thing, you know. There's interesting stuff. I mean, Radio Havana Cuba has some terrific Cuban music. Arnie Coro's The Xers Unlimited, talking about, you know, DX shows. Arnie Coro's The Xers Unlimited, which is several times a week, is kind of an interesting, unique show that is hosted by Arnie Coro, and it's yeah, you know, it's one of those interesting shows. I kind of like it. It has its own little thing. Its own little thing, you know. It's very unique in a DX show, but it's interesting. I like to listen to the Xers Unlimited and Arnie Coro talking about all sorts of things. So pretty cool. Yep, absolutely. The French territory, Saint Martin, like Fabrice says, was badly hit. Very, very crazy. 5 and 12, the watchmaker says, pretty sure I heard Voice of Korea this morning in Texas. It's absolutely possible. BYDMP says, which radio signal types would still be possible to use post-nuclear war, assuming some parts of the world survive? Well, every type of radio signal will work. I mean, in a nuclear holocaust where the majority of us are gone, I don't think there's going to be a lot of radio transmitters working. And I don't know, I'd be, if, okay, it's the phone again. Sorry about that. So, you know, it is something that, it is something that I would guess, you know, because if nuclear bombs explode, during that moment, of course, the shortwave bands are going to die because of the radiation and everything. One of the biggest problems also is that a lot of our radios are going to just blow up because the electromagnetic pulse is so intense that your radio, even if it's shut off, the electronics can actually get fried just by that little impulse that was going to get there at the time that it happens. But still, there are things that are going to survive, that's for sure. There are radios going to be well and alive to continue working. I would guess, you know, if there are survivors, one of the first things that you might want to do is somehow throw together a shortwave transmitter. It's because, let's face it, you can't, you know, you can't be seriously thinking about turning on FM and medium wave broadcasts everywhere. It's very, very difficult. Of course, there will be some, but I would think, you know what, the shortwave bands would be a great thing that you can use, because you can actually get a big territory with just one transmitter. But let's hope we never get there. I think that's better. Bobby Beretta, nice to have you here from Texas. Always nice to have you here. Yeah, Carl was. What? You know what? I just said Robot 32 because I saw your post, but when I look at the app, it's like, oh, it's Robot 36. So, anyways, you know, it's nice to have you here. What else do we have? Let's slightly go down. Sorry, I'm a little far in the chat here. Okay, what else do we have here? So, MDK2 says getting Adventist World Radio in French from Austria on 15155. Yeah, I've been hearing that one from time to time, 15155. Let's just try it just for the fun of it here.
Oui, Oui, les parents désirent que tu sois un bon citoyen.
Pretty good. Look at that. From Austria. Adventist World Radio in French. 15155.
L'environnement et les installations urbaines. Les salles de classe de ton école. Et les moyens de transport. Si les adultes te donnent par exemple, donne-leur. S'il n'est pas possible qu'un jeune soit un bon citoyen, comment la Terre pourra-t-elle être un lieu idéal? Oui, les parents attendent de toi que tu peux.
Pretty strong signal from Austria with the relay of Adventist World Radio. French language. Really, really good. So, Scott George, nice to have you here. Daniel Walsh, hey there. Neil Toombs, everybody, nice to have you here. Yeah, well, CIA controlled, you know. Radio Marti is CIA controlled. Yeah, that is cool, Scott George. No work, and let's hang out. Let's hang out together. Apparently it's the end of the world, so it's going to be a perfect day for that. But in case of emergency, PLF radio, I think it's one of the things you wanted. I think one of the things you would want to have in emergency is a. I would want a shortwave transmitter, that's for sure, to be on with all the news and information that we can get. I mean, there's nothing better than that. It covers a wide area, and I think it's pretty good. So you know. So Carl Tinch just having a scan to see what he can pick up on his long wire in the UK. Pretty cool. Radio Romanian English on 11850. Let's check it out. Let's see if we can hear it. Oops.
Meetings are quite important.
Radio Romania on 11850 in English.
Which on the one hand was draining, but on the other hand full of wonderful things. The meeting with Pedersen was an experience that I, for one, will certainly not forget. The idea is that he discovered a technique based on the fact that each organ responds to a specific emotion, and by becoming aware of a particular organ, you can feel that emotion. The reactions were absolutely fabulous. I was on the verge of a panic attack because the emotions and the energy that you feel are amazing. The meeting with Mr. Dabija was also very important. It is not a common thing for an established director to...
So Radio Romania with a pretty good signal in English, 11850. Yeah, Scott George. Well, you know what? One of the things that the young generation doesn't understand, and that we probably understand more, is that the biggest problem is their phones are not going to work anymore with you know, a disaster, even a, you know, like a hurricane disaster. Your phone stopped, you know, everybody's cell phone stopped working. The cell towers, you know, if they didn't come down, they suffered damage. Your phone was not working. And it's you know, it's sad that it only is in these times, but at least there's a positive inside all of this, is that when there is disaster, radio, you know, amateur radio comes to the forefront. It is, everybody talks about amateur radio for a while, and you know, I get it all the time. You know what? I've an old client of mine that I've been fixing his computer for the past 20 years. He's moved away, and when he comes to Montreal, he always calls me up because he wants to, you know, me to tweak his computer a little bit, make sure it works well. And last time, you know, I usually do it in my office here. And last time he looked at me and said, you know what? I didn't think anybody would, you know, still be doing amateur radio stuff in shortwave radio. And he was telling me he remembered when he was young, and the guy's like 70 years old maybe now. He says, oh, when I was young, I remember, you know, my dad listening to shortwave, stuff like that. And he remembers he had an uncle or something that was an amateur radio operator. But he says, I thought that in 2017, all of that was replaced by newer technologies. And I was talking to him about how amateur radio is still quite strong, and honestly, it's something that's important to continue, because I was explaining to him, for example, that when we had the ice storm of 1998, amateur radio was a great help. I can tell you that. So a lot of people are receiving Radio Romania 11850 MDK2. You're in receiving it in Denver on this Granite 750 with the built-in whip. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. MDK2 says, I like Arnie Coro, but I wonder how much longer we'll have him. Yeah, he's I think it was the other day. The other day, I think I heard. I think I heard he was like 76 or something. So he's like, yeah, that's for sure. You know, and Arnie Coro is like a big part of Radio Havana Cuba also. So I don't know what's gonna happen exactly. Matter Radio DXer, hey there, says UK BBC Radio 4 longwave 198 kilohertz is designated as emergency station during a national disaster, like a nuclear one. So that's interesting. So you know, but that one actually makes a very big distance. So that's something to think about. Scott George says, I sometimes feel shortwave is cheating and will DX my older AM box radio plug-in style. Well, shortwave is not cheating. No. Cheating is listening to Radio Romania via the internet. Yeah, older tube radios, like Radioactive says, if anybody that has old tube radios, old tube transceivers, transmitters, these will survive an electromagnetic pulse. These are much more sturdy in their electronics. What makes today's radios very sensitive to that is the transistors that can't really take you know, a high power jolt of electricity. Vianney Arsenault, bonjour, bienvenue, welcome, nice to have you on board as usual. But yeah, tube equipment will actually live on, so we're all gonna have to take our old tube stuff out. You know, I'll have at least a few tube radios that are gonna be available for my medium wave listening. Tim Robinson, nice to have you here. Pretty cool, and nice to have you on board. And cheers, everybody. Southern Illinois stand says shortwave stations would still be on the air even after an EMP. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the transmitters are really high-powered tube transmitters. The only damage that would be done would be physically if the transmitters are close to the explosion itself. What would happen is that okay, the blow of the explosion might damage the antennas and everything. Richard Cook says, extremely weak Voice of Korea on 9425. Radioactive's not receiving anything on 15155. Yanni Arsenault is receiving 15155. So, yeah, 3955 kilohertz called Tench is one of those frequencies where there's a lot of broadcasts in Europe. Let me just check it out here. EIBI space. Let me just check out at this time what is on that frequency, but 3955 has relays of many programs. I sometimes tune 3955 out of one of the SDRs in Europe to listen to some of the broadcasts. 3955 right now at 20 to 21 would be at this time KBS World Radio in German, apparently. That's what I've got here on 3955. So would be KBS World Radio, broadcast from the UK, from Wolverton, UK, and it's in German apparently. So it's in German, and Mad Radio DXer answered the question. Yeah, if the end of the world, I can tell you. Let's, you know, if the end of the world's coming, I'm getting myself a nice big bottle of vodka, and want to do a a live shortwave show until the end and drink some vodka. So filling up the beer. It's fin du monde today, so haven't had that one for a little while. Vianney Arsenault says 11850 30 dB with preamp. Wow, that's pretty good. Tune's just about audible on 11850. So, well, that's nice. That's something missing in our phones. Southern Illinois Sand says his Android phone has an FM radio built in. That's something that's missing in our phones. All smartphones should have FM radios on them, at least. At least. Rob Webster, nice to have you here. Says, great job, love the radio waves. Cool, thank you very much. Nice to have you here, for sure. So, Catwoman's, you look like the young generation. Well, I'm almost 50 years old. I'm not that young. I can tell you that. I'm not that young. There's a fly going around and the cat is looking everywhere, trying to think, where is it? So the youngster cat is right there in his favorite chair. What else do we have? Let's check it out here. Anything else to add? You're into decoding digital signals. Oh, that's cool. That's fun. It's a fun part of the hobby. When we start going to all the aspects of the hobby, that's the fun part of shortwave. Having all of the different parts of listening to digital modes and utility stations. By the way, last night it was weak, but I could hear in the background noise the buzzer. It was there, very, very weak in my background noise. But the first time, for the first time, in months, I just barely heard the buzzer on 4625 upper sideband. So yeah, maybe satellite phones would work, absolutely, Scott George. That would be a possibility, yeah, during disasters, yeah. Satellite phones, possibly. Fabrice says, Radio Romania signals so strong and clear in Eastern Europe, sounds like a FM station with a little Texan with whip antenna. Yeah, Radio Romania is amazingly good in signal strength, I can tell you that. For sure. Hey, Rich in Atlanta, nice to have you here. Says, I've been hearing VMW automated maritime weather from Australia on the 8113. Really? I've tried a few times on some of these, but never been. So 11:45 UT. So I would have to. That would be maybe Monday morning when I wake up to go to work. So I'll try that. 8113, 11:45. I need to try it out. It would, if it would be a frequency and time that might make it up to here in Montreal. Actually, I need to try that out. Oh, that's a great catch because these stations are really, really not very strong. Fire Drake on 6080 says, Richard, cheers, Tim. Svetlana Rodriguez, nice to have you here, and yeah, hope the power holds up. I mean, we never have power outages here, and it's like a circumstance that's very weird. That Friday pissed me off because everything was set up. I was just waiting patiently for time to arrive, and when it went off, I could see a lot of people, so I went up to the corner street, and that's where I learned that there was a gas pipe that was ruptured. City crews here are kind of dumb sometimes, and I guess that was one dumb city crew. So they busted the pipe. You had to shut down power because there was a risk of explosions. So PD0 PMS, good evening. David in Barcelona, nice to have you here. I was thinking about you this morning. I'm gonna tell you the little story that I started that I was telling when I started the show. So I'm sitting in the living room with a coffee. I just woken up and I'm sipping my coffee, looking at the news on the internet, and I kind of hear, but it's very faint, and I kind of hear there's like some music playing. And after about 2 or 3 minutes, in my head it rings like, man, it sounds like Radio Exterior de España's interval signal. But I didn't turn on any radios. So I was like, okay, that's weird. Where is it coming from? And I listen to it and I hear it all the time and I'm like, come on, that sounds like Radio Exterior de España. What the hell is that? Where's it coming from? And I forgot that my Texan PL 380, I had turned it on last night to listen to some signals. And I had a phone call, so I just put the volume, lowered the volume. I didn't turn it off. So when I woke up this morning, the batteries were still good. So it was on, but a very, very low volume. And when I turned and I looked, I realized that it was on 17855, and I was hearing the interval signal from Spain as they were signing on, I guess at 1400 UT or something. It was just funny. I looked like an idiot. I was like, what the hell is that? Where am I hearing Spain? It's impossible, you know? So, oh man, Calvin says Brother Stereo will probably still be on talking about the end of the world. Oh God, yeah, and the Earth. Don't forget, guys, the Earth is only 6,000. Always says 6,000 years old. Forget the dinosaurs; they never existed. 6,000 years old. Oh God. What is the best time to listen for pirate radio stations? Brian, Iowa, nice to have you here. Great question that we're going to answer, and we're going to continue on the DX shows and stuff. Let's put it here a little bit. This is my MacBook that I was looking at the lists. By the way, for those that wonder if we're live or not, this is the actual time, and this is precise to the second. What you see here is not local, it's universal time. I get that all the time. People say, is it 9? It's not 9 p.m. in Montreal. It's UTC time, 2100 UTC. It's actually 5:03 p.m. now here in Montreal. So you will know that I am live if you know that this clock is there to tell you that it's UTC with the date and time. So sometimes people have, I've noticed that some people sometimes have difficulty understanding when I'm live or when it's a recorded show. So try to keep an eye on the clock and the date. And you know, it says when you're live, it says live on in the window that you see the video. It says you're live. So make sure that you check that out also. So we are live on Saturday. Today, Saturday. We started at 2000 hours UTC. Already an hour. And I mean, time flies with these shows. It's just incredible. So pirate stations. There are some high times and some lower, more quiet moments. But don't forget that pirate stations can be on any time of day. Okay? I've heard pirates almost at any time of day or night over the past, 20 years, 30 years of listening. But of course, there are concentrations of moments where it's more than usual. So, local time for pirates, usually local time, local evening. So, for example, in North America, anywhere between, 2200 hours UT to way past 05 or 600 UT, depending on where you are, East or West Coast, would be the time where you would expect more pirates. But then again, it could be any time. Last winter we had that pirate on 5150. It was there all day long. So you could listen to it in mid-afternoon if you were close enough to hear it. Same thing for Europe. Local evenings are better. But remember, you can hear pirates anytime. Now, you can hear pirates pretty much anywhere in the bands, okay? Because I've heard pirates everywhere, from the low frequency of 3 megahertz. The highest frequency I've heard a pirate station 21470, I believe, and I think it was Cupid Radio from the Netherlands. It was broadcasting in the 13 meter band, and it was mid-afternoon here in Montreal, by the way. So that's what you got to remember. But there are, and even though every day of the week is possible, remember that weekends are more intense in pirate station activity. And remember that when it's a holiday, a 3-day weekend, some holiday of some sort, always more activity also. There are a few holiday times that are even more interesting. Christmas, New Year, Halloween. Halloween's coming up, by the way. And I'm thinking I'm going to be checking it out. I'm thinking of doing a special Halloween show. Remember, Halloween is barely more than a month away now. October 31st. Of course, I'll be announcing it in advance, so there's a possibility of a Halloween show, and we'll be chasing pirates. So these are the times when you can listen to pirate activity. And for the frequency ranges, okay, like I said, it could be anywhere, but there's bands where there's more chances to hear some. In Europe, 6200 to 6400, so 6200 all the way up to 6400 kilohertz, somewhere in there. There's a lot of pirates usually. In North America, the best frequency range, 6850, 6850 to 6999 is the best, and you have the biggest chance there. But we've been hearing some on the lower 5 megahertz lately, and there have been a few on the lower 4 megahertz lately also. So remember that it's possible to have other frequencies. SG2 East Nebraska says the Cuban lady on 16180. And well, I'm not hearing at all. At all. Nothing at all here right now. So wow, incredible. Doesn't make it. Usually 16180 is one of the frequencies that actually does make it here. What else do we have? Let's slowly go down as fast as possible. I'm a little far behind, guys, so bear with me. Oh, I'm hearing it. It's very weak, but it's there. I just heard it. I just heard it a little bit. So 16110, but it's very weak here, that frequency. So nice to have you here. What else do we have? Fin du monde for the end of the world. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, I gotta, you know, probably my brain said it's the end of the world, better have a fin du monde. Probably. So what else do we have here? Randall Kluntz, hello there from Chicago suburbs. Nice to have you on board. 1990 Sunbird, always nice to have you here. 9430, lovely signal. What's on 9430? 9430. Nothing here. I'm not hearing Greece on 9420. It's interesting, not a lot of stuff. WRMI making it very well on 11580. Okay, we'll tune a little bit the bands and see what we can hear. And if you guys hear anything you want me to try, please let me know. Part of the fun is to know what is happening. SD2 is Nebraska says that the latest indices for solar activity, solar flux is 81. Not too bad, you know. It's low, of course, because it can be much higher, but it's not 65 or 70, you know. So 81. A index is 5. K index 2. Could be a little better, but you know, better than nothing. K index of 2 is usually not too bad. So conditions shouldn't be too bad. Last night conditions were really good. I could hear a lot of signals. I heard a lot of things. I heard the U.S. Coast Guard calling a ship on 5696. It was, you know what? The transmitter of the guy was totally distorted. Totally distorted. So Radio Slovakia relayed by WRMI on 11580 right now.
The autumn is full of festivals all across Slovakia. For example, the World Music Festival Bratislava, presenting not only local but also international world music stars, opens Thursday 21st of September in the Slovak capital. It is still possible to see some of them this Saturday and Sunday. Martina Šinkovičová has more.
So Radio Slovakia in English via WRMI in Florida on 11580. Oh really, another earthquake in North Korea? Do you think these guys are... I saw the news today. They're not... Like, everybody's wondering if it's a nuclear bomb that are exploding or what. So I don't know if it's, you know... That guy in North Korea is playing with our minds. So, I know what you mean, Scott George. I always, so many times I had to go to, you know, a store at 11 p.m. at night because the cat didn't have cat food anymore. And I was like, oh man, I gotta get the cat food. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. And Paul the cat is right there in front of me. He's sleeping on his chair. So I'm sure he's sending out a hi to everybody. Cash Skywave schedules. Hey there, nice to have you here. Oh, you're lucky. Global 25 radio mic. I would have loved to have one of those. I'm so sad. I'm so sad because I broke my Radio Canada International coffee mug. I was, you know, putting the mugs from the dishwasher into the cupboard, and I don't know, I just pushed and a mug fell down, broke in half, and I looked and I said, no, it's a Radio Canada International mug. I broke my Radio Canada International mug. That's so sad. Mickey Delmich from her sink. Yeah, sink man. I loved it when she said, well, you can't buy a Syncman, a Sony Syncman. You know, I love that that CIDX live show I did. I think I watched it 10 times. And I watched it also afterwards because when you're the guy that's interviewing and you got all of these things going around you with the chat room going on, you miss information that the people are actually giving you. And when I listened back, I was like, man, I don't remember that or that moment, or I don't remember him or her saying that, because I would have added something else to the conversation. But you know, it's like multitasking. When you do a live show, it's multitasking. And the live show that was, you know, with an audience and with people that you interview is different also, because I mean, there's a lot more going on, and there's a lot more distractions. You know, here I don't have very much distractions except your chat rooms, and you know, maybe Paul the cat doing something. So it's interesting, but man, I just love it. And I mean, we gotta that's got to be an annual thing. I think we're gonna set up a live show every year if we can. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun for sure. And it was just an amazing show, and having Amanda Don Christie that made the documentary for the Sackville, New Brunswick transmitter site was an amazing moment. An amazing moment for me. I am extremely happy, and I don't know. There's a lot of pride in knowing that I was able to have her an interviewer and a shortwave show. It's just so cool, so cool. And of course, you know, having you, Mickey, and I'm not sure, by the way, Mickey, but I think when I left, I called you by the wrong name. I'm not sure, but now, you know what? I looked at the video so many times that now I have the names of everybody in my head. So I'm not gonna goof up anymore. So yeah, that Global 24 mug is a collectible for sure. Rob Webster says, have a realistic Pro 26 scanning FM and deciding now have a Texan PL 660. And yeah, absolutely. Texan PL 660 is amazing. Amazing. David says, I confess I turned on your radio remotely and tuned to REE. I was just so, you know. Yeah, smartphones, great way to get, you know, we're being tracked with these, that's for sure. I mean, all the apps and everything is tracking us now. It's totally crazy. Totally crazy. I can tell you that. David says, I had my Sony ICF Shortwave 11 turned on the whole night and the alkaline batteries almost didn't notice it. The radio has an amazing battery life. Yeah, even that Texan PL380, it's amazing. It's got it's got recharge the Amazon rechargeable batteries in it. It works really, really well. So Mad Radio DX says, please do that. Would be great to have Pirates live on that day. Yeah, I usually have Halloween live show. I think the past 3 years we've been on live on Halloween evening for Pirates. It's always fun, you know. It's always fun. There's one thing that I miss though that you know I can't do when I do the shows, but you know it's okay. I'm the kind of guy that likes to go out when it's Halloween night and look at the little the little children go around in their disguises, and it's I just love it, and the costumes that they have. And usually there's always a few houses around here that are just amazing. One that about 10 minutes from here, walking distance. Almost every year they have like you go into the backyard and they have this like cemetery with people hidden everywhere that try to scare you, and it's just like a lot of fun. There's a school also not very far that often what they do is they have the basement is accessible from the side, and what they do is they have this little maze that you go through, and with black lights and everything, and that they have they try to scare you when you go through. There's a lot of little fun things, and by doing the live shows I miss out on that I kind of like to do, but I think we can manage something. Some part of it will be a live show and some part will be going out, but I'm thinking of I like doing the live shows on Halloween evening, I gotta say, and so I think we're gonna do one this year also, for sure. So yeah, they often have technical difficulties with HM01, that Cuban lady, for sure. Syrian Willow, nice to have you on board from Syria. Pretty cool to have you here. Hope everything's all right. Vianney Arsenault, how can you recognize Pirate Station? Almost all the stations we can hear on the bands. Among all the stations, well, you'll identify. That's a good question, but I would say you'll identify a pirate station first of all by the frequency range, because most of the time there are specific places you already know are known pirate frequencies. So of course if I hear something on 6925, it's a pirate. There's no doubt about it. Now, if it's a pirate on another frequency, and by chance I hear something that is on a frequency range where you're not really sure, then it's by listening to it. Because usually types of programs they have, and they will ID. I mean, one that I hear very often, I heard a couple of weeks ago, was Wolverine. So they'll ID, Wolverine radio. And it's like, well, okay, that's, they're not their usual station names that you're accustomed to. They often have unique programming also. Some have, comedy shows. Some have specific types of music. Like Wolverine, for example, almost always has a theme. So, for example, on Labor Day weekend, the theme was work. So every song that he put on had a theme of work. So for example, She Works Hard for the Money was part of the songs. Everything that is related to work. Last time I listened to, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what subject it was, but it was related to something that I'm trying to remember. I don't know what, but all the songs had that theme in it. It's kind of fun because the guy works hard in getting all the songs right for the theme of that night. Wolverine is one of the fun ones also because it sends out a slow scan TV picture at the end and sometimes in the middle of the transmissions. But it's usually, you know, quite easy to know that they're a pirate just by listening for a while. You'll understand. But mostly, I'd say 90% of the time, you'll know it's a pirate just by the frequency you're listening to. And you know what, Vianney? Tonight, try it. There's a high chance on Saturday evenings, local time here, I can tell you, from 6850 up to 7000, the chances of you hearing a pirate if you tune in regularly through that frequency range are very high. I think in the past 2 or 3 Saturday nights, I've heard pirates. I've heard even 2 or 3 different pirates broadcast. And by the way, one great resource also, and that's something that's very, very helpful. Remember, guys, that HF Underground is the best website ever for pirates. Why? If you are not sure, you can go to this website, hfunderground.com. Now, there's one board that is for North American pirates, another one is for European pirates. You just click there. It's almost, you know, there's tons of people that are almost always there posting information about pirates. So, I mean, you will immediately know if what you're hearing is a pirate. And if you haven't done an identification of the pirate station, you will almost surely have somebody out there that's going to say, hey, Wolverine Radio is on the air. Or if it's un-ID, it's going to say un-ID. So here's a nice beer. And so, you know, it's one of those cool stations, cool sites, websites for information about pirates. And you can register if you want, and register yourself over there. And then once you have registered, if you hear pirates, you can participate in the different chat rooms or the blogs where the people just, you know, share information. David says, Gilles, if you come across XFM on Halloween, remember that they use Sequam mode, transmits in stereo. I need to check that out. Absolutely. Absolutely, David. I have to try that out. For sure. What else do we have? What else do we have? Dan Heavens, hello there. David Walker, nice to have you here on board. Pretty cool. And listening to pirates is actually a lot of fun. So, you know, tuning the bands is just so cool. Just so cool. And I can tell you it's really, really nice to have. And, you know, they usually have, like Ben DK2 says, funny names like Wolverine or Radio Free whatever and so on. One that I miss, that I loved to listen to many years ago, was called We Love Interval Signals, WLIS. And they would just play interval signals of different shortwave stations. That was cool. That was so cool. What else do we have? Luis Arevalo, nice to have you here, says, did anyone hear Russia's spies numbers in the morning? It's been a little while, but Russian spy numbers are quite frequent. Quite frequent, honestly. So yeah, I did hear that is true also, as MDK2 sang. The guy that does Wolverine Radio, I've heard him. I've heard him get on the air real drunk and swear like hell a few times. So, but you know, pirates are kind of cool to listen to. It's unusual, and I don't know. You know, I'm going to get hate mail because every time I talk about pirate radio, I get hate mail because there's these people out there that think that I should not talk about illegal radios. And I don't care because I just love pirates. Look, there's a pirate flag right there. Honestly, if I had a transmitter, I probably would do pirate radio. What do we have here? Oh yeah, tons of stations all the time for sure. John Young, hey there. We have less than 3 hours left if the end of the world is using UTC time. So hey, we'll all be together. At least we'll be dying with our favorite hobby. I mean, nothing better than that. Dying with our favorite hobby. I can tell you that. Maybe it's a little too late, but I'm going to try it anyway. 137-620 for NOAA 15. Yeah, it's still there. It's not very strong. Oh, wait. This is the ping, the same as yesterday, the ping of a satellite, a weather satellite, just passing over Montreal on 137-628-20, well, 618 now. So this is a satellite, a NOAA weather satellite. That's just passing overhead. So thanks for letting me know that it's passing right here. Oh man. Yes, very important to keep it, Vianney. It's a very, very great, very, very good. And tonight, if you have time to listen to the radio, tune anywhere from 6850 to 7000. I can bet you'll hear something. Let's try it right now. It's a little early, but let's try it right now. I'm going to go to a 6850 and upper sideband. Just out of curiosity. So there's nothing right now. It's a little early for pirates, but I can bet you that if you tune in tonight, you'll hear some pirates. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. 12,000. I'm not hearing anything on 12,000 kilohertz right now. Carl. Jeffrey Kropp, hello there from New Hampshire. Nice to have you on board. What is hiding behind the pirate flag? Oh, it's a picture frame. It has it's a painting. But I was a little lazy. I just put the pirate flag over it. So, but it's a painting. So nice to have everybody here. So, yeah, beans plate for the pirates. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, too much fin du monde. Mad Radio DXer says, pirate radio is what brought me back to shortwave when I left in the mid-90s. Yeah, Clever Name Radio is one of those that's been on lately. Bobby Burgess, yes, Clever Name Radio was one of them. And pretty amazing. Oh, it's next month now, the end of the world, October 23rd. Of course, when it doesn't happen, they change the date. It's like the, I was talking about this week, so sorry it's not radio related, but the European Union paid for a survey. They paid for a study on piracy, the effects of piracy for software and for movies and everything. And they got that 300-page study that says, well, actually, piracy doesn't really do anything bad to the sale of movies, or and even in some cases it actually helps sell more movies and sell more software. And they scrapped the study because it just didn't have the answer they wanted. Basically, I guess they didn't want to have that study that says let's all pirate software and movies. Doesn't matter. Oh God, you know. Has anyone heard of the radio brand Mullard? You know what? It rings a bell to me, Brandy Handel 03. It does ring a bell. I seem to have maybe seen a radio that had that name on it somewhere, but I don't remember. Neil Toombs gonna watch the rest of the show on the smart TV. Cool. Take it easy. You know, that's kind of cool. Watching on smart TV, just taking it easy and, you know, enjoying. Philip Briggs from Brazil. Hello, welcome. Nice to have you on board. Always cool to have everybody here. That's for sure. So, 2 hands in the radio. Brother Stare is saying the world with him today, and if you want to support this ministry, your contributions are appreciated. Yeah, that kind of, you know, the world's going to end today, but, you know, if you want to help me out, and talking of help me out, let's just do a shameless promotion of the end of the world. So, hey everyone, just want to say that donations have helped me tremendously to continue in what I'm doing. It's a fantastic way of helping me out. Without the donations in the past year, I would have had a lot of difficulty continuing because the AdSense, the YouTube monetization is so crappy lately. So I want to thank everybody that have donated, by the way. And 2 ways you can do this: paypal.me/shortwave, patreon.com/radioincomputers. Now, just one word of caution on the Patreon one. I've got a couple of people that, you know, it didn't work out correctly because it's a little weird in the way you got to set it up. Just got to be careful that you don't set it up wrong, and make sure that you put a maximum amount that you don't want to give more than that. You can join 12 patrons right now that are helping me out every month, and of course the best way, PayPal. PayPal is an easy way to transfer money. paypal.me/shortwave. You don't need a credit card. You can actually send a little something from your bank account directly if you don't have a credit card. And I want to thank everybody, by the way, that have donated, because it's really appreciated. You guys on the radio side have been the most generous of all. I want to really thank everybody. And, you know, I'm kind of going out here to, if you've never donated and you've been watching this show for a long time and you enjoy what I do, you enjoy the commitment I have to the radio hobby, why not do a little something? It really tremendously helps me out. It doesn't have to be a big amount. I mean, any amount helps. So I want to thank everybody. It's really much appreciated. And to that, cheers. And, you know, maybe I won't need that money because it's the end of the world in a couple of hours. But anyways. Luis Arevalo, why there's so many religious? Yeah, there's the Dr. Scott one. Yeah, he passed away. It's his daughter or something like that that is continuing. You know, one of the things that I find... thank you, Jeffrey Crop. Say you're worth it. Thank you very much. One of the things that amazes me about religion on shortwave, because that's one of the things that is, let's face it, it's kind of unique. Yeah, I'm at Radio DXer. Well, technically, it will be all of you guys' last donations because we're going to the end of the world. But anyways, so you know, that always was something that kind of surprised me. How religious programming got so popular on shortwave. And you know what? For some reason, and that's one. And you know what? What do you guys think about this, by the way? Because I'd like to have your opinion on this. So we have, of course, the regular programs, the government radio stations on shortwave that left. And what's funny is that the output of religious shows seems to be higher than ever. I mean, there were always some religious broadcasters through the years. You know, in the 80s, I remember, in WRFI was one. There was, you know, HCJB was technically a religious, well, was a religious broadcaster with all sorts of programs. There was a lot of, you know, AWR was there, and so on. So there were, you know, some religious programming back then, but it just seems like of all the shortwave transmissions that slowly faded away. I don't know why, but it seems that the religious broadcasters all think that shortwave isn't dead and should still be there, because there's like more Jesus stations than ever on the bands. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, there's so many Jesus stations. It's just amazing. And I'm wondering how many people actually tune in to Brother Stare, or, you know, whatever. You know, that WEWN Catholic station via shortwave. The other day they were having a call-in show where people of Catholic faith were asking questions, you know, about if they were right or wrong in whatever they were doing in life. And when I tuned in, I was listening in out of curiosity and heard the guy saying, "Oh, I'm receiving you with a really good signal on 15610." And I was like, huh, really? So I'm surprised at the fact that religion has been and kept itself so popular on shortwave. You know, just out of curiosity. And I mean, it costs a lot of money. Look at Brother Stare. He is spending a amazing amount of money to get airtime everywhere. I mean, is it just like foolishness? Just he's got tons of cash and, you know, wants to, I don't know. PLF Radio, bye. Take care, my friend from France. Always nice to have you on board. It's just crazy. It's just really crazy. Southern Illinois says religious programming became popular because it is charity-based and it is really good for talk radio. People like Alex Jones talking about poison in our water. Yeah. Fabrice says religious are targeted to third world countries without any reliable internet television broadcast. Part of it is true. I will give that one. It is true that a lot of the religious stuff was targeted to third world countries. A lot of it was, actually. You know, in the 80s, the religious output was more important towards Asia and Africa than it was towards North America. I think that is something that's fairly true. But I mean, I'm amazed at it seems that religious programs and broadcasters think that shortwave is still important. Totally. You know, I don't know. Brian Hour says, yeah, it bothers me that they can legally transmit religious stuff. The FCC won't allow me to transmit music in my neighborhood. Yeah, you know, there's all sorts of weird laws. You know, here we have a funny story, because I don't know if things were changed, but the Canadian Industry Canada, that actually is the government entity that, you know, makes stations legal or not, for a long time it was the law stated that you could not operate a religious broadcast station in Canada. And one of the funny things that happened here is that in the, I believe it's in the 80s, there was a station that actually is on 760 kilohertz, and I still hear it today. And it opened in the state of New York, I believe, just across the border from Canada. And it actually sends its signal towards Montreal area here. So it has a pretty good signal on 760 kilohertz in the daytime. And because the different religious groups couldn't have a religious station on the bands, they opened it in the United States, in the state of New York, to broadcast to us here. It was kind of, okay, well, do it from there, and it's going to make it to Montreal easily. So we had a religious broadcasting station on 760 kilohertz, which is still there. You know, I mean, I'm just going to try it right now. It's a 760.
Christian music. My name is John Rivers, and number 12 is the Hindus, Jeremy Camp. Moving up 1 with Word of Life on 20 is the Countdown magazine. Word of...
So Word of Life, and it's a countdown of religious music right now, okay? So 760, you see these guys, this guy's coming in really strong. And I mean, on any portable, you know, if I take this portable here, even though there's a lot of noise where I live, okay? Look at that, guys. We're going to turn it on, and we're going to go to 760. Look at that. Here we go. Can I hear it? Yeah, here it is. So that station did that because it just couldn't open up in a religious station here on the Canadian territory back then. Now, that I think has changed, because now I believe on FM band we've got a Catholic station right now on the FM band, but it once was a rule that no religious station could open up on the Canadian radio bands. So, you know, it's crazy. Okay, what else do we have? Big money in Jesus stations. Yeah, I guess. There must be, because, I mean, look at the amount of money they're spending on broadcast. Maybe I should, you know, maybe I should open up a Jesus shortwave station of some sort. And have full of DX programs within. You know, like 1 hour Jesus, 1 hour DX show. 1 hour Jesus, 1 hour DX show. Maybe that could be a viable option. So for 1 hour I'll talk about the Bible, and the next hour I'll talk about shortwave. So you guys can tune in to the shortwave hour. A little bit like, you know, HCJB was a religious station. It was a hell of a nice station. A hell of a nice station. I mean, HCJB for me was a perfect mix. I mean, I'll be very honest, I don't believe in God, and I've never been a religious guy. And you know, that's my opinion, and I respect totally people that do believe in God, and it's quite all right. I mean, you know, it all depends. There's a lot of it that depends on, you know, all sorts of things. How we were, you know, anyways. ACJB was the perfect mix for me. It was, yes, there's religious programming from time to time, and actually a lot of it. But they had such cool programs. The DX Party Line, Musical Mailbag, Music in the Mountains. They had tons of cool radio shows. Ham Radio Today. And I thought, and I totally respected HCJB and what they were doing. Okay, it's obvious. You're trying to bring the masses to your broadcast with other shows in order to try to lure them into what you want primarily, which was, you know, bringing you to God, because that's what they wanted. But the mix was perfect. I mean, it was not too much. You were not, you know, it was not something that you would go nuts about because they just had too much of it. It actually was not bad at all. The mix was okay. And you know, ACJB was really, really, really cool. How do North Korea block shortwave signals? Well, you know, most stations, Luis, are basically, just jamming So they put on transmitters. Look like China. China uses the CNR1 jammer and the Fire Drake, and they just broadcast noise or whatever on the frequencies that will block shortwave stations. But it's not, it doesn't work that well, honestly. Southern Illinois Sense says shortwave radio is cheap. People like Brother Stair get big discounts. Well, I hope so, because I mean, if I would buy, you know, 50 hours a week on a shortwave transmitter for broadcasting something, I hope they're going to give me a good price on it, which is normal. And let's face it, a lot of shortwave stations are alive because of Brother Stair and others. And that's why, you know, I always see these posts all the time. I do understand it when I see a post go through of people saying, well, you know, I was tuning the bands and I heard Brother Stair on 12 frequencies. So annoying. And I'll see posts like that all the time on the Facebook group, for example. And, you know, okay, yeah, he's there. He's there on 30 frequencies. All I got to say, and all I want to say all the time, is two things. Stop talking about it, because you're also annoying if you talk too much about it. But not just that. The radio has the dial. You don't have to listen to those 30 frequencies. Tune somewhere else. That's it. Second of all, you know what? WRMI, WBCQ, a lot of stations, WWCR, that have other types of programs also, are alive and well thanks to that. And if I'd be WRMI, if I'd be the owner of WRMI, I would not say, hey, Brother Stair, I don't want your money. I got transmitters. I want to transmit programs. Of course I want to have a diversity of programs. But why should I say no to Brother Stair, even if I don't believe in God? Because there's tons of money coming in. And these stations are commercial stations. They gotta have cash coming in to continue. So basically, the idea behind this is, consider not Brother Stair is annoying. Consider, thanks to Brother Stair, maybe we're having more shortwave station output and relays, thanks to all the money pours in. You know, something like that. Two Hands in the Radio says, Brother Stair said at one time was 230 hours a week. Guy's got a lot of money, I can tell you that. I can tell you that. But, you know. One of the things, by the way, that North Korea was very interesting. One of the, if you guys never saw it, there's a National Geographic, I don't know if it's still on Netflix. It was on Netflix for a while. There's a National Geographic documentary about North Korea, and they follow a bunch of guys that smuggle shortwave radios from China into North Korea. And it just shows you that shortwave radio actually makes it to North Korea. Oh yeah, Adventist Radio also is one of those stations that isn't pushy about, you know, religious programming. Absolutely, Southern Illinois Sam. Adventist World Radio is a, you know, I compare Adventist World Radio kind of a little bit like HCJB, because they have other programs in their religious programming mix, you know. So, yep, you know, I shouldn't have mentioned Brother Stair. Okay, what else do we have here? What else do we have here? Yep, absolutely. Shalikov, nice to have you here. You know what? I actually enjoy listening to Adventist World Radio in French, because Adventist World Radio in French, like, you know, the broadcast that was earlier on 15155, the first half of the show is often a show about, you know, health and just improving life in general. When I tuned a little earlier, that guy, which is a preacher, but he was not, he was, yes, mentioning God a little bit, but he was more into how to raise family, for example, how to react when your children do this or that. It's not bad programming in a sense. It's actually, you know, general guidelines of trying to have a better living. So, you know, it's not that bad. It's kind of interesting to listen to. So, you know. So, yeah. Having some shortwave broadcast via stations is anywhere from $25 to $50 an hour, depending on the power of the transmitter. And I'm sure if you get a lot of hours of transmission hours, you get even better price. The more, you know, it's like a bulk package. If you buy 100 hours a week, you're not going to pay $40 an hour. You're going to pay less because you're having a big chunk, you know. Svetlana Rodriguez says, I don't mind Christian stations. I grew up listening to Christian gospel music. I'm just careful who I listen to. I miss HCJB, Transworld Radio. Yeah, Transworld Radio still has broadcasts from Swaziland in Africa. I haven't heard them in a while though. Heard them last time, I think. David says the very first shortwave stations other than Romania and China that I've ever heard was WHRI. We used to listen to a show called The Daily Dose, in which pop music, rock music was played. Yeah, WHRI, I remember that. World Harvest Radio. They're still on. That's from the evening Voice of Vietnam evening transmissions to America is via WHRI, by the way. I do remember the Christian Science Monitor. They were everywhere. They were one of those stations that was easy to listen to, and they're gone now. Philip Briggs says, interesting that cross-border situation. We get the same here in Triple Frontier region. Many broadcasters transmit for Paraguay, the other side of the river, avoid Brazilian regulation and tax laws. Yeah, you know, there's always, it's radio waves. And the interesting thing about radio waves is there's no borders for radio waves. They will continue across the border. I'm not sure today we still have such a regulation, but, you know, it's a way to do what you want, basically. Dan 805, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Late to the party because I didn't get a notification. Oh, really? So sad. So sad you didn't get a notification. But I mean, you know, that's part of radio waves, and that's the cool thing about radio waves. I mean, you can transmit from another country to another country, and there's nothing you can do about it except maybe, you know, jam, but that's it. Hey, have a good time, Dan Evans. Take care. It was nice to have you on board as usual. Stay safe, and hope that work day goes well, or work day, evening, or night, whatever shift you are actually doing. Floyd Briggs says, during communist days in Eastern Europe, the Eastern Bloc countries used a different band for FM broadcasts and locally available radios to stop Western radios being received. Yeah, there's a lot of things done. I can tell you that. Mario the Extra says, read a book on North Korea which said people who had radio supplied by the state fixed to one frequency could unlock them to hear. Yeah, and I remember seeing a documentary where they were showing, and you know, that must be terrible. I mean, they were showing a guy in North Korea that had a state-owned radio, and in North Korea, the state-owned radios are fixed to the frequencies of the state radio. And the guy had fiddled with the radio and could listen to international broadcasts. And his neighbor found out. And his neighbor actually called the local police to to say that he was listening to international broadcast, which was illegal, because he could get more food on his table for his family. And it was like, wow, this is incredible. It's like, if you have a radio that listens to the world in North Korea, you shut up and you don't tell anyone. I can tell you that. You can't trust anybody. Take care, 512, the watchmaker. It was nice to have you on board as usual. And Charlotte says, in mid-80s, satellite dishes popped up everywhere in Eastern Europe. There was no way to limit free communications. You know, at some point, it's impossible to block everything. At some point, it's totally impossible to... It's impossible to... Radio is cool for that. That's why, you know, we always get, you know, these people that say, oh, the radio is going to be dead soon with the internet and everything and our smartphones, and, you know, oh yeah, you can stream whatever you want through these little devices. It's just so cool. Yeah, but one thing you got to remember is that this stops working the day a government will... It's funny because I'm talking about that now, and I got people that were watching my shows that when I talk like this actually told me that they stopped watching my show because it's just, you know, I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist apparently about talking about that. But I'm sorry, the internet, okay, as long as your government works well, the internet is relatively free and you get pretty much what you want. But I'm sorry, the governments have the possibility to control it, and radio waves is not the same thing. On radio waves, if something bad happens, we can hear broadcasts from somewhere else. If for some reason Canada gets invaded by whoever, well, the internet's going to change. It might even be blocked. Look at China. China has no access to YouTube. And now, because they know that Chinese people are actually using VPNs, the government has now even approved VPNs. If it's not an approved VPN, you're not allowed to use it. And it just shows you can have a total control of the information on the internet. And what's cool with shortwave, or even medium wave and FM, if you're close to a border to another country, well, at least you can still continue listening to the outside world. And I'd be curious to see how many people in North Korea have that possibility and listen to broadcasts from the outside world to really know what exactly is happening. I mean, if I'd be living in North Korea, I'd be scared as hell with, you know, like with the brainwash of, you know, how Americans and how everybody is just amazing, you know, like the devil, and that they are there just to destroy North Korea and so on. While all at that time, Kim Jong-un is actually watching American movies and doing whatever he wants on the internet in his home, you know. So, you know, man. David in Barcelona says, I don't mind religious stations as long as they're professionally, rigorously run and programmed. I don't think Brother Stare has any of that. I will agree with that. Brother Stare is has a mind of its own. He's saying his own thing. It's not like, you know, an example. You know what? I am surprised myself of sometimes listening to WEWN, the Catholic station, and actually tuning in and listening a little while. Why? Because, you know, not because, you know, I am Catholic. I was born and raised in the Catholic faith, which was not my choice at all. That's how it happens. And basically, sometimes they have questionings that are interesting. They have a call of somebody that's asking a question that is just kind of curious, you know? and it's really, really interesting, because you know, stations like WWN have a frame, they have a way of doing, saying, and having a program that is actually well done. And they are there to have the Catholic faith. They talk about the Pope, things like that. Brother Stare is Brother Stare. It's his view of Jesus, his view of religion, his view of everything. He's decided that, you know, the earth is 6,000 years old, and I totally agree with what you say about how some people just, you know, if it's like if I would just decide that I'm going to pay some airtime on WRMI and decide that clowns are the real religion today, and you know, I'll be dressed as a clown doing the show, and I will be deciding that clowns are going to save your life and save your soul. Clowns do everything. So, you know, it's crazy, but it's as crazy as that when you listen to Brother Stare, honestly. I mean, the moaning show, come on. When you hear them like moan, it's going, whoa, whoa, it's going, come on, what the hell is that? Oh God, let's go somewhere else from religious broadcasts. I think it's, but it's a must, you know, it's part of our shortwave hobby, and it's there. Philip Briggs says, no, it was talking actually like, hey, SparkyZilla 85. Just got your JRC and RD535 tuned to WBCQ 7490. Going to be listening to Shortwave Saturday night with Pirate Joe. Cool. That is cool. And you know what? I was watching your videos. I'm so jealous of your receivers, SparkyZilla 85. And it's nice to have you on board. It's been a while since we've seen each other. Bud Householder says 760's WJR. Well, the religious station here, I don't remember the call sign, actually shuts down at sundown. And usually when the sun sets and the AM stations start coming in from the United States, I get WJR out of Detroit, usually. So, you know. Absolutely. Angelikov says, Europe is densely populated. Most people are getting Western TV over the air. You know, I remember seeing a news bulletin or a documentary or something in the 80s where they were showing East Berlin citizens with the antennas on the rooftop because they were listening to the West Berlin TV broadcasts. You know? Is it true that if you pay the money, you can broadcast anything you want on shortwave? You know, there's a limit. There's probably a limit where you can't cross the line. But when you listen to Alex Jones and all the religious nuts out there, I think that you can do a lot. You can do a lot. You can do a lot. Yes, I do remember Dr. Gene Scott. I think it's his daughter now that actually has the programming on WWCR frequencies, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, I can tell you that. I remember when North Korea was not the voice of Korea, but Radio Pyongyang. That was the times, Radio Pyongyang. So, you know, it's amazing. It's amazing when you think about it. David says, I agree 100%. Never moaned and never felt the need. You never felt the need to moan? Let's have our 1 hour moaning show on WBCQ or something. Let's check out something here. 9830, guys, if you want to listen to the voice of Turkey. 9830 right now with a pretty good signal with some music. 9830 voice of Turkey coming in right now, and you are watching. We're at a little past the second hour of our show, You're watching the Shortwave radio show. This is coming to you from Montreal, Canada. We talk about shortwave, we talk about radio, we talk about all sorts of things. Hey, William Helms, nice to have you on board. No problem if you're late. It's quite all right. And Fabrice Sionet says, actually, I have to admit, shortwave is the most polite media. I don't remember to have heard any profanity once. Well, I did yesterday, by the way, and one of the DX shows. Well, it's not a DX or kind of show, but it's more of an open show, like every Fridays. And I heard it yesterday. There's a show called Alan Wiener Worldwide, and he's on Friday evenings around 0000 for a couple of hours. He's live, and he repeats the show on WBCQ regularly. And man, yesterday I was a little, I don't know, I found that his show lacked a little bit of, let's say, how should I say it? Lacked professionalism, okay? I mean, there were, like, you know, bodily noise of all sorts. There was some swearing. And one thing that came to mind when I heard Alan Wiener yesterday was the whole show. He sweared, and there was some bad language thrown in. And when at the end he said, "Well, let's end this show with a prayer," I was like, okay, that's kind of. And you know, I don't know about you guys. You know, some people, when I use an F word, I immediately get a response. There's always somebody that's going to tell me, you know what, I respected you a lot, but you used an F word the other day, and I'm not going to watch your show again. Okay, and I understand. It isn't, the F word is not a nice word, and it's something I try not to use, and use as little as possible. And you know, you try to keep a minimum quality of whatever you're doing. But I've got to say, can you have a minimum of quality in what you're doing in your live show, please? Because I got to say, yesterday when I heard that, I was like, okay, that it lowers the grade of what you're listening suddenly. For some reason, what you thought was this quality just fell down to this quality. And I'm sorry, but especially for somebody like him, that is, I believe, the owner of WBCQ, can you just be a little more professional, please? I think it'd be better. And I don't know. I'd be curious. I'm going to listen Friday night. I'm sure somebody's going to rant that to him, and he's going to talk about it Friday night. That guy on YouTube that says that I have fart sounds and so on. But you know what? I'm sorry. I don't fart, and I don't do, you know, things that are not acceptable on my live shows. When I'm really mad, I sometimes do have an F word, and I try to control that as much as possible. In my real life, I rarely use the F word, but, you know, come on, please. Can you just be a little more professional in what you do? I think that'd be nice. But, you know, it's your station and you do whatever you want, so the hell with it. But Alan Wiener, it's one of those shows that's kind of, you know, when I usually listen to Alan Wiener by accident. Almost every time I listen to Alan Wiener is accident. Yesterday was an accident. I came through 5130, and he was there, and I started listening a little more. And sometimes it's interesting because he talks about the transmitters, he talks about electronics. It can be very interesting. Alan Wiener can really be interesting in the live shows that he does. But, you know, sometimes it just digresses to something that's not worth listening to. You know, yeah, Tim Trong was doing the belching, absolutely. Thanks for, he was the one, absolutely. Sparkyzilla, you're right. Tim Tron was doing the belching, and he's notorious among ham radio world for belching on the air. I'm sorry, but I think most of you probably agree that belching, farting, and it's not giving you points and making you a class act. That's for sure. Okay, I'm sorry, but that is true. Sparkyzilla 85. Tim Tron was doing the belching yesterday. But, you know, there's things that you listen to. Yeah, there's things you listen to. There's some interesting parts in Alan Wiener's show. You know, it's interesting. There are parts of it that are, and you know, that said, and I'll be very honest, when I go and if I tune the bands and come across Alan Wiener Worldwide again, I'm not going to start listening. You know, I'm giving you these comments, but honestly, I'm still gonna. But, you know, I'm still gonna listen in. There's some interesting stuff on Alan Wiener Worldwide. I even thought about calling the show and saying I was listening. You know. And there are some interesting stuff. But sometimes, you know, they get calls from people that are like almost neo-Nazi-like and whatever. And they digress into really heavy subjects. But it's some listening. Like John Ritson says, I see this show as a timeout with others like-minded people akin to going down the pub and the odd, yeah, you know, yeah, absolutely. It's not a major issue. It's just that, I don't know, for some reason it you know, but I do totally understand. I mean, thinking of going at the pub and having a few beers with friends, you know, there are some moments where we are not very glorious in the way we act and the way we do things. And yeah, you're right, John, in some way about maybe, you know, yes, it's kind of like that. And like I said, I will not stop listening to him because I do find that sometimes part of that program is kind of interesting. I mean, it can be very interesting to listen to Alan Wiener. You know, it's something I will consider Alan Wiener's live show a little bit like what I do here, ranting about all sorts, anything, all fully about a radio most of the time, and it's just, you know, it's just cool. But you know, on Friday evenings he's live. You can call in his show and say, hey, hello there. I'm listening in. Yesterday was kind of interesting. I listened to 3250 kilohertz was on. They're testing on that frequency right now. And 3250 is coming in really well. But then again, WBCQ isn't that far away from Montreal. It's in the state of Maine. And so 3250 comes in really well. 7490 most of the time skips over me. 7490 is one of those frequencies very hard to listen to. 7430 strong signal, I believe that's Radio Romania. Yep, Radio Romania in English, 7430. It's one of those frequencies. I believe that's for Europe, 7430. But it comes in pretty well, 7430.
Dear friends, Radio Romania International resumes the series of prize-winning contests and invites you to take part in a new quiz of the 2017 Joe International Festival devoted to a first-class international music event. Between September the 2nd and the 24th, Bucharest and 7 other Romanian cities are hosting the 23rd edition of the Joe
7430 kilohertz Radio Romania, coming in well. Vianney Astanos at 7430. Really good signal here too, 20 dB with preamp. Bobby Burgess says 7490 is hard for you too. Yeah, because of your location also. I believe that 5130 is a pretty good one for you in the evening, Bobby. 5130. And that 3250, you should try it too. Might be another good one for where you're located. But 7490 is, you know, depending on propagation, One of the other things that is interesting to listen to is the QSO radio show. QSO radio show is a show on WTWW, I believe, and the QSO radio show is one of those. Shows that is, I believe it's on. I'm trying to find what day it is. I never remember what day it is. The QSO radio show is one of those interesting shows also, where basically it's a lot of talk, a little bit like Alan Wiener, a lot of talk, but the QSO radio show is kind of very, very interesting also. There's no belching and farting and weird things. And it is interesting because there's talk about radio, there's talk about all sorts of things, and it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. The QSO radio show is one that I like to listen to. Of course, we talked about Arnie Koro's DXers Unlimited. I believe it's tonight, by the way, Saturday night, North America, UT Sundays. And is it on Tuesdays that there's another Arnie Koro's DXers Unlimited? I think there is. That's kind of an interesting show. There's also different mailbag shows are kind of fun also to listen to, by the way. Radio Romania has a mailbag show, I believe Saturday evenings, UT Sundays. To read listeners' letters. It's kind of fun, It's fun because you also see that shortwave isn't a hobby that's just, you in your home. There's other people listening to. There's Voice of Turkey has a DX Corner show. That is also a show that's kind of interesting. They have DX tips of all sorts. So the Voice of Turkey will have some nice DX tips there. Of course, they have the listener mailbag show. Radio Havana Cuba also has a listener mailbag show on, I think, Sunday evening North America, UT Mondays. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to listen to, and I like that kind of show because the mailbag shows show you that there's a lot of people listening in, and the DX shows give you all sorts of information about radio itself and how things work and how to listen and so on. Oh, Angelikov, you exchanged Facebook messages with Rich McVicker. Oh man, I remember that, the days of DX Party Line. Wow. That brings back a lot of memories, I can tell you that. Oh God. So many cool things. Let's check out if by any chance there'd be some pirate stations right now. Let's just check it out. Oh, interesting. Somebody was actually doing a signal on 6965. Wonder if there's going to be a pirate. I think there's something very weak on 6955 upper sideband. I'm not sure. 6955, there may be a little something. I'm not sure. 6955, maybe, possibly. But, I don't know. Ah, there you go. MBK2. LSB? Really? Yes, I am hearing. There's some music on 6955, absolutely. Lower sideband. 6955 kilohertz lower sideband. So, anyone that wants to try it out, Pirate Station 6955 lower sideband. Very weak here though. On 6965 I had a carrier. Oh, he's there now. '6965 Pirate Station with music. Oh, it's the Russian national anthem. The Russian national anthem on 6965 upper sideband. Radio Free Whatever just started. Radio Free Whatever, 6965 upper sideband. So 6965 upper sideband, Radio Free Whatever. Rich in Atlanta says 6965 S6 over here. Pretty cool. Philip Briggs, 6965 not making it down to south of Brazil. Bobby is not receiving anything on 6965. So that was probably the carrier. That was, they were keying up and probably checking out the standing wave. So Radio Free Whatever, Pirate 6965 upper sideband. And some music on 6955 lower sideband. So VNA, Pirates for you here. Robert Sutherland says, hey Jill, when are you doing a new shortwave show? You have done receivers already? What do you mean by a new shortwave show? Exactly, Robert. Just out of curiosity, you mean a new subject, or just out of 6955 is playing French music? Let's go back down. It's too weak for me to really hear anything. So Vianney says, again, my parrot station, I feel so good now. So, you know, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We're having some pirate activity tonight. Nice to, and it's fun to have it live, I mean, because, you know, we have all of these pirate stations, and it's really nice. Bobby's got nothing on 6955 either. So, the best, I wonder where it is, but the best right now for me, 6955 is very, very weak. So there's some music now on 6965 upper sideband, making it S8. S8, pretty nice. An S8 signal here. Nothing on the U20 SDR. Should have some of. You should go on the Kiwi SDR and get some North American East Coast SDRs that you can tune. Carl Tench says very weak here in the UK, but something on 6965. Well, it's possible that you are hearing Radio Free Whatever on that frequency. So you are listening to, yes, absolutely, the parrot activity does complement my my parrot flag, Jerry. You're absolutely right. I'm pretty sure some people are watching and saying, well, he doesn't say it, but he has a pirate station, I'm pretty sure. Jerry says S20 here. Wow. S20 where you are, Jerry. Man, closer to you. Pretty amazing. So you're watching the Shortwave radio show. This is a show that, of course, we look at the schedules. We are here every Fridays. Every Fridays at 2000 hours UTC. And we are every 2 weeks on Saturdays at 2000 hours UTC. and basically we will have the next Saturday show on October 7th, 2000 hours UT. Oh, for beginners, Robert, you mean? Yeah, I need to complete that. A lot of people are asking me. You know, the shows for beginners were amazing. You need to continue. I promise I will. I have no date yet. It's, you know what, the biggest problem is time. I am so compressed with time that I have a lot of difficulty finding time just to do the regular things. But I promise it's coming back, and we'll have more, shows for beginners. I know a lot of beginners actually love these shows because they learn the hobby. Like I always say, you know, we were all beginners at some point in time, and I think we gotta always remember that. And if these shows can help out, but I promise, Robert, soon we're gonna have a couple coming out soon. But I need to have a little bit of time for that, for sure. Oh man, what else do we have? Indicate 2 says well below the noise floor here in Colorado, but that's not bad given his location, which I know but won't. Aha! He's got some inside information there, Indicate 2. You know, there's a couple that one period of time about Pirate Station that I loved before I did the live shows and the YouTube channel, and it's unfortunate there was before, because it would have been cool to do it now with them. I was, you know, when MSN Messenger was the thing to talk with others and chat with others, I was in contact with several European pirates, and including Cupid Radio, and I was doing live video with these guys when they were actually live to show them the signal here in North America, and it was just so cool. And I would always know in advance when they were going to do a show, because they would send me, you know, they would tell me not to say anything, but, you know, we're going to be live on that frequency at that time, that day, just letting you know. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Yeah, you know what? Mad Radio DX says I miss MSN Messenger. You know what? If Microsoft did one thing right in all of its technologies, MSN Messenger was the perfect chat thing. I mean, I used ICQ before that, but MSN Messenger was perfect. Microsoft absolutely did a perfect job on that MSN Messenger. It's so sad that they actually had to scrap that and change it for Skype, which, okay, let's face it, for Skype for video calls is okay, but it doesn't replace MSN Messenger. It should have continued. They should have continued their Messenger thing. It was very popular. Everybody was on MSN Messenger, I can tell you that. AW89204 SWL, nice to have you here, for sure. And yeah, you know, it must be interesting. Cholikov says my Kiwi SDRs online. It's funny to see what people listen to. You know, it depends on the knowledge also that has you, what you have, what you want to try to listen to. I mean, I remember when I was tuning in on a Finnish SDR the other day, and the guy that owns the receiver actually was talking to me, and he found it interesting because he was looking at frequencies I was entering, and he was wondering, you know, what are these frequencies you're entering to see? I was telling him, well, you know, I'm in Finland, so I'm curious as to how strong the buzzer is, RWM time signal from Moscow on the different frequencies. Also, seeing what stations that are making it right now to Finland. It's kind of interesting, you know? It's kind of interesting when you think about it. So it's pretty cool. So it's really, really nice. Man. Hey, XNEDX or Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas, 90 Fahrenheit and sunny. Well, here the sun is setting now, but it's 29.2 Celsius outside, which is 87, 88 Fahrenheit. Very hot for this time of year here. It's summer. It's really summer. So it's pretty amazing when you think about it. Vianney Asano says you have 110% for MSN Messenger. It was so easy to use. I've had contacts with family and relatives. You know, when they decided to stop MSN Messenger because they bought Skype, everybody got off. I don't know anyone that was on the MSN Messenger that decided to continue with the Skype app. I don't know anyone. They kind of screwed there. Because, I mean, everybody was on MSN Messenger, but nobody moved to Skype. It didn't work. That didn't work. I can tell you that. And, you know, today, let's face it, the #1 chat app is the Facebook Messenger. Because a lot of people are on Facebook. And the Facebook Messenger, you know what? The Facebook Messenger is kind of as easy to use as the MSN Messenger, basically. It kind of is that replacement. It's just that it's linked to Facebook. Because, I mean, MSN Messenger was great. ICQ wasn't too bad, but for some reason, I don't know why. I don't know what pushed us. Because I'm trying to remember that when I first started chatting, it was with my sister. She just had a computer. And we were looking at some way to communicate all the time. And that's where, you know, we're in 1998. 99. That's when I saw ICQ, and we created an ICQ account, and we were in contact through ICQ, which was also quite easy to use. But I don't know why we moved to MSN Messenger instead of staying in ICQ at some point. But for some reason, at some point, we moved to MSN Messenger, and it seemed like everybody was there. It seemed like everybody was there, basically. Just crazy. Man, time flies. When I talk about ICQ and MSN Messenger, man, I have the feeling of 1998, 1999 again, with my Pentium 166 computer. I remember I installed that on the first time on a Pentium 166 with Windows 98, and it was on ICQ. God, that wow, what an amazing time. That's about 3 years before I started working for myself, being self-employed, and starting to fix people computers. Amazing. Hey everybody, you're watching the Shortwave Radio Show. One last little self-promotion. Remember that if you enjoy what I do, one of the reasons I can stay afloat, pay the bills, and do everything is that you can help me out through PayPal with paypal.me/shortwave. Send me a little donation of some sort. It really, really, really is helpful. You can also help me out through Patreon at patreon.com/radio and computers. There you can set it up so that you can give me a little something every month if you want. And it is, just be careful to set a limit. Make sure you have your limit set right. Sometimes it's kind of a little tricky on Patreon. PayPal is great. PayPal.me/shortwave. So why not? Help me out. If you like what I do, please consider a donation. So Vianney says, Pentium 166. Wow, what a souvenir. I also had with MSN Messenger. You know what? I remember. I still remember the Pentium 166 that I bought was the first real computer I had bought with my money that was a good performing computer at the time. Before the Pentium 166, every PC I had was given to me by a friend. And of course, when your friend gives you a PC, it's because it's out of date and it's too old. So I moved from a 286 to a Pentium 166. Gives you an idea, guys, of how old. Okay, and the Pentium 166. You know what? It's just so funny. You know, impulse buy. I was in front of a computer store and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go see the computers. And then I saw this special. The guy had this like a special. I was like, oh really, a Pentium 166 with this for, you know, I don't know, $400. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take that. It came with no operating system. It came with just the basics. And I got home, I called my friend and said, hey, you still have that Windows 98 CD around? And he said, yeah, sure. Can I kind of borrow your Windows 98 CD? I know it's illegal. You weren't supposed to do that, but anyways. And I had a Voodoo graphics card. Yep, I had an S3 graphics card, and I remember that was the first. I had a 33.6K modem, or 33.6K modem. I logged on to an internet connection for the first time in my life, and boy, I don't know if it is possible. I'm not sure, Bobby, but it isn't. Does Radio Free Whatever do SSTV? I'm not sure. I know there's more than one pirate that does SSTV. But the only one I've decoded SSTV was Wolverine. Exceeding the Extra says, I remember Web TV from 2001. Later became MSN TV, a box that connected to the TV and phone line for internet. Oh man. I remember, I mean the internet back then, just amazing. Then I had 56K. Keith Godwald, I have a question. WRMI goes off at 12 p.m. Why? It depends on the frequency used, Keith. Actually, WRMI will just follow the rules of a specific frequency, with a specific frequency for a specific time. So, depending on the frequency you're listening to, they will broadcast until a certain time. And one of the reasons why they will shut off is, well, okay, you know, they will consider, for example, that depending on what region you want to actually send to, a lot of frequencies, by the way, WRMI are for North America. So, you know, there's also the side of, well, you know what, at 1 a.m. there ain't that many people listening necessarily to shortwave. So they'll have a limit into what time they're going to broadcast, and one time they're going to, you know, shut out the transmitters also. It all depends. And I'm sure that, you know, there's, you know, depending on where you live, and you know, because 12 p.m., I don't know if you mean your local time, but you know, in shortwave we try to talk about UTC time most of the time. But you know, it's like any station; they want to broadcast to a specific area, and they will broadcast a certain time. It's like international broadcasters; they broadcast to North America or to Europe at specific times. That's the time they know they're going to be. They'll have an audience. You know, if you broadcast to somebody at 3 a.m. in the morning, there's not a lot of people listening shortwave local time 3 a.m. But there's a lot of people listening shortwave at local time 9 p.m. So it's that. Then there's the frequency versus, you know, the time you're broadcasting. Some frequencies are for daytime, some are for nighttime. There's, you know, it doesn't really, it rarely is good to use one frequency for a 24-hour period. It's not like FM or medium wave broadcast, you know. Hey, take care, Dan805. It was nice to have you on board, of course. Always cool to have everybody here, by the way. And, oh, many times, Keith. North Korea, I got Voice of Korea and when it used to be called Radio Pyongyang, dozens of times, if not hundreds of times. I haven't heard them lately. I'd like to have one of the frequencies that would propagate to North America, but I haven't heard them lately. Yep, 6965 upper sideband SG2. Radio Free whatever is on right now. Pretty strong, pretty good signal. 6965 upper sideband here. Radio Free whatever. Oh, by the way, also something, thanks Ichalikov for mentioning it again. HARP is broadcasting for the next few days. So HARP is that experiment in Alaska, and they actually are scheduled at different times on different frequencies. One of the guys that I'm following with HARP, and I'm gonna try to get the guy, is man, what is the guy's name? It's Chris. I think it's Chris. Sorry, just gonna try to find him again. Chris Fallen is one of those, by the way, that always updates and does a lot of updates on the HARP experiments. 3 minutes ago, he says, programming the first crowd-funded HARP experiment and paid by credit card. Scheduled tonight, 24 at 0524 UTC. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So doing some crowdfunding here. Lots of frequencies also being used. HARP 30-second on, 120-second off, O mode. So we can try that out right now. 2.8, 3.2, 3.8, and 4.2 megahertz. So that's kind of interesting. So yeah, Chris Fallen. CT Fallen on Twitter. Yeah, absolutely, Chalaka. So 2.8, they should be on right now. So let's try something. Let's put 4.2. And see if we can hear something. So they should be on right now, and they actually, what they do is 30 seconds on, then they have 120 seconds off, and they're on 2.8, 3.2, 3.8, and 4.2 megahertz. So and that should start at 0100 UTC. At 0100 hours UTC. So in about in 2 hours, a little more than 2 hours time. So if you guys want to try that tonight, HARP from Alaska with 30-second on, 120-second off, 2.8, 3.2, 3.8, and 4.2 megahertz, and that starts at 0100 hours UTC tonight. So it's 0100. It's not started yet. So 0100. Mighty KBC. Yeah, 5960 for Mighty KBC has not been that great. I think they moved too low of a frequency too fast. 9925 was getting a little difficult because of the shorter days. They should have moved to a 7 megahertz, would have been maybe a little better. But 5960 have not been the best for them in the past weeks. But if they keep that frequency as we're getting into fall and eventually winter, it's going to get better. So Chilikov says you can see it easily on the SDR, just a razor sharp continuous carrier. So that's going to be interesting to see tonight. The HARP signals. I'm trying to make videos, a couple of videos about that. So here's a slow scan TV picture received by our friend Carol T. KH6ITY. He's received this today. Pretty cool. Nice slow scan TV picture decode here. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And Bobby says can receive 9500. I tried, but I didn't receive 9500 at all here. So pretty interesting. So hey guys, been 2 hours and 46. I'm gonna sign off for today. Radioactive. And hope you enjoyed today's show. It was kind of cool to do. I'm pulling the plug a little bit short because it's really hot in here, and I want to take some time off on this Saturday evening, listen to the Pirates, and cook some food, maybe hamburgers on the barbecue. I want to thank everybody for being here. It's always absolutely fantastically cool to have you guys here. Thanks for those that have donated during the show. It's much appreciated. You guys have no idea how it helps out. Aishalikov says he got a good video of the Arecibo experiment, Puerto Rico, on his YouTube account. If you guys want to check it out. Thanks everybody for being here. It's an honor to do these shows with you guys, as always. I want to thank you all for being here. The next radio show is Friday. So this coming Friday, September the 29th, we'll be in the living room in front of a 50-inch TV with a waterfall, and we'll tune the bands, talk about radio, and just have a lot of fun. So take care everybody. Sorry about that, Dan805. It was nice to have you on board. I will, Radioactive. I'll eat a burger for you. It's a beautiful night outside. I think I'm going to set up on the balcony in the back and just enjoy the beautiful summer evening of the summer we never had. Thanks everyone, and thanks for the great comments. Always nice to have you all on board. Stay safe, listen to the radio, and see you soon. Bye everybody.